All right, reading Air Force Handbook 1, version February 2025, starting with Chapter 13.13, finishing Chapter 13 at 13.17. Starting with Practical Problem Solving Method. At the core of USAF CI is the Practical Problem Solving Method, a standardized and structured approach to problem solving used by global industry leaders and adopted by DoD. The Practical Problem Solving Method, as shown in Figure 13.1, is a 8-step process used to clarify problems, identify root causes, and develop appropriate countermeasures to achieve change. Note, the Osborne-Parnes convergent and divergent thinking techniques described in this handbook's chapter on developing ideas can be useful during many steps in this process. The figure, Practical Problem Solving Method. Step 1, clarify and validate the problem. Step 2, break down the problem and identify performance gaps. Step 3, set improvement target. Step 4, determine root cause. Step 5, develop countermeasures. Step 6, see countermeasures through. Step 7, confirm results and process. Step 8, standardize successful processes. Step 1, clarify and validate the problem. The first step to effective problem solving is to clearly understand the problem, often best accomplished by developing a problem statement. A well-defined problem statement uses data to identify where the problem is occurring, determine the impact of the problem, and compare performance against a standard with scope and direction. A problem statement does not assume a root cause, solution, or countermeasure, but should include visual tools to depict the current state. The who, what, when, where, and significance of the problem statement should be validated by data. This is done by collecting and analyzing data to validate the existence and magnitude of the problem. If data does not exist, the effort should be paused to collect and analyze the needed data before moving forward. This step incorporates the mess finding, data finding, and problem finding aspects of the Osborne-Parnes model. Step 2, break down problem and identify performance gaps. Understanding what appropriate data is required and the ability to interpret that data is paramount to performance gap analysis. Step 2 effectively frames and supports the problem in Step 1. Once the problem statement has been identified and answers the who, what, when, where, and significance of the problem, further analyze the data in comparison to the expected outcome. The expected outcome is the objective from which to measure the gap between the current state and end state, the expected outcome, and highlight opportunities for improvements, also called the performance gap. Step 3, set improvement targets. USAF leaders establish a vision of what an organization will strive to become, the ideal state. In Step 3, process owners or project managers set improvement targets based on expected outcomes and strategic goals and objectives. Targets help define the required performance levels to achieve the desired end state. Targets should be challenging but achievable. Step 4, determine root cause. USAF leaders often find themselves addressing problems which have been solved many times when previous problem-solving efforts were directed at symptoms of a problem rather than root causes. Root cause analysis often involves applying a trade-off between digging as deeply as possible as opposed to finding the deepest points within the team's sphere of influence. The correct root cause should be validated by using the same data used to define the problem in Step 1. Step 5, develop countermeasures. Step 5 is where potential root causes are addressed with countermeasures. Consideration should be given to the most practical, efficient, and effective countermeasures. Valid countermeasures will close performance gaps and should move the organization closer to the ideal state. When developing countermeasures, strive for process improvement change that is sustainable and repeatable. At the end of step 5, obtain a vector check to ensure strategic alignment with the desired outcome is still moving in the appropriate direction. Remember, the impact of a solution is a combination of the quality of the solution and the acceptance of the solution by people who implement it. Judiciously involving employees in the development of countermeasures generates buy-in and ownership of the solution and its success. This step incorporates the idea finding, solution finding, and acceptance finding aspects of the Osborne-Parnes model. Note, techniques discussed in this handbook's chapter on developing ideas can be particularly useful when developing countermeasures. Defer judgment and allow a period of time to let ideas flow freely. Brainstorm potential countermeasures, even those that may seem odd or unusual, before evaluating and selecting a solution. Step 6, see countermeasures through. Step 6 is seeing countermeasures through to execution and tracking detailed implementation plans for each countermeasure approved in Step 5. Reviews and progress checks should be updated regularly on all tasks until countermeasures have been implemented or until deemed unnecessary. Step 7, confirm results and process. Step 7 compares the results of implemented countermeasures to the identified performance gaps, improvement objectives, targets, and the expected outcome. Sustainability and repeatability of the improved process should be verified. Results are measured by data and analyzed to confirm the project's intent. Processes should be monitored for performance relative to the baseline developed in steps 1 and 2, relative to targets established in step 3, and relative to the solution implementation. Illustrate confirmed results with appropriate data tools which link back to performance gaps and improvement targets. Incorrect root cause determination is the most common mistake made during CI efforts. If targets are not met, it may be necessary to return to step 4. Step 8, standardize successful processes. Step 8 is the most commonly neglected step of the entire practical problem-solving method. However, it is important to ensure the results of the efforts made in previous steps are codified. In step 8, consider the answers to the following 3 questions. 1. What is needed to standardize the improvements? Possible answers may include a submission to the Airman Powered by Innovation program, or change requests for technical orders, instructions, manuals, material, and suppliers. 2. How should improvements and lessons learned be communicated? The wing process manager should be made aware of the success, inputting information into the USAFCI portal, conducting key meetings, writing publications, utilizing public affairs, informing the chain of command, or populating data collection sites. And number 3, were other opportunities or problems identified by the problem-solving model? This project may have identified additional problem-solving opportunities that should be recognized and addressed. 13.14, levels of problem solving. Consistently applied, the practical problem-solving method provides an excellent tool for making data-driven decisions with regard to management, process change, and the sharing of best practices, ensuring actions lead to the desired results with minimal waste. It also ensures the results are aligned with the needs of the organization. 3 different levels of effort are available for accomplishing this method initiative: as a standardized template for solving problems and performing process improvement initiatives. The practical problem-solving method is flexible enough to be effective at any of the following 3 levels. 1. Just do it. Also called point improvement, the just do it approach involves one person or a small team and can be accomplished in less than a day. Examples could be using torque wrenches instead of adjustable wrenches, or routing paperwork electronically rather than through physical distribution channels. 2. Rapid improvement event. A rapid improvement event consists of a small team of individuals, usually subject matter experts, and can be accomplished in less than a week. It is designed to develop and implement countermeasures after appropriate project preparations have been made. Examples could be improving aircraft servicing cycle times or improving first-time pass yields on task management tool taskers. Improvement project. Number 3, improvement project. The improvement project setting requires a large team and is conducted over a longer period of time. Examples could be shortening aircraft annual overhaul cycle time or writing software to track annual overhauls. 13.15 Project management. Although there are many definitions of project management, for the purpose of this reading, project management is defined as the process of leading, coordinating, planning, and controlling a diverse and complex set of process and people in the pursuit of achieving an established objective. With this definition in mind, it is important to emphasize that a project is not a program. Programs are ongoing. A project is temporary, based on an established objective that has a generalized time frame attached to it. Project management steps. Project management uses a unique array of terminology to identify and communicate its principles and uses. Basic terminology is primarily found in the steps of project management and is explained below. Define the project objective. Identify the objective or improvement to be achieved by the project. What is being satisfied by the project? What is the expected outcome? Develop solution options. How many ways might you go about solving the problem? Of the available alternatives, which do you think will best solve the problem? Plan the project. Planning is nothing more than answering questions. What must be done, by whom, how, for how much, when, and so on. Execute the plan. People sometimes go to great lengths and efforts to put together a plan, but then fail to follow it. Follow your plan. Monitor and control progress. The project manager must monitor and control by being present and making appropriate decisions. This is where to determine whether or not the plan was sound and make adjustments. Are we on target? If not, what must be done? Should the plan be changed, modified? What else have we learned? Close the project. Once the objective has been achieved, there is still a final step that should be taken. Documentation and discuss lessons learned. What went well, what didn't, and what should be addressed. Project management constraints. Constraints are numerous for all activities we endeavor, but constraint consideration is crucial for project management. Quality, time, and cost are among the main constraints most often realized in project management. Quality. Quality refers to being in accordance with the requirement, the specifications. Time. Time refers to the amount of time you have to complete the project. And cost. Cost refers to your resource constraints to include money, manpower, machinery, and materials. One of the constraints, quality, time, or cost, will be your driver for the project. The driving constraint for your project will have an impact on the other two constraints. Ensure you take this into consideration when making decisions about the project's objective and adjust the management of your project accordingly. It is incumbent upon a project manager to provide leadership and use good team building techniques to establish a sound project objective and generate the solution options necessary to achieve those objectives. 13.17. Once options are developed, the most important and time-consuming aspect of project management must occur: planning the project. Planning a project involves activities that answer the questions who, what, when, where, and how. Techniques of special importance to use during plannings are gathering important information, creating a work breakdown structure, and conducting a task analysis. Regardless of the method of planning used, the completion of the tasks in a sense of order and timeliness made foreseeable through the task analysis ensures project completion is more likely to succeed. Work breakdown structure. A work breakdown structure is a technique based on dividing a project into subunits or work packages. Since all the elements required to complete the project are identified in the work breakdown structure, the chances of neglecting or overlooking an essential step are minimized. A work breakdown structure is typically constructed with 2 or 3 levels of detail, although more levels are common. Depending on the complexity of a project, such a structure for your project will permit you and others who see the work breakdown structure to readily identify what needs to be done. Spot omissions which might later affect the outcome of the project and make suggestions for improving and expanding the work breakdown structure. The amount of breakdown is an element of the project manager and the project team must decide upon. Task analysis. Similar to the work breakdown structure, the amount of detail needed for a task analysis depends on the task involved and the desires of the project manager and project team. The more complex the project, the greater the importance of detailed task analysis. Information contained in the task analysis, which is not depicted in a work breakdown structure, includes task milestones, how the milestones can be measured, and resources or requirements. Project managers may delegate the task analysis for each task to the appropriate person. Once compiled, final decisions on task assignments and budgetary concerns can be addressed. The task analysis is what provides the crucial information for determining how the tasks of the project interrelate. It is imperative to establish the proper sequencing of tasks prior to beginning a project to ensure the efficiency of the project. That is the end of Chapter 13, Developing Organizations, from Air Force Handbook 1, version February 2025.